Hey, when was the last time you went in circles? It may have evoked some negative feelings, maybe? But did you know that going in circles could actually be a good thing? Well, I have a Celtic practice for you that, if practiced regularly, may level up your mind and possibly help relieve anxiety and depression, or at least be a tool to do so. Well, in addition to showing you this Celtic practice, I'm also going to give you specific advice from a pro in the subject, as well as share my personal practice. When you are finished with this video, you'll be able to make your own practice as well. Well, right, you probably want to know what the Celtic practice is. Let's check it out. Hey there, Mike Guarneri here. Welcome to A Skeptic's Journey. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to continue my series of Celtic practices that may level up your mind and possibly be a tool to relieve anxiety and depression. Today's Celtic practice is called walking the rounds. Well, the first things that popped into my head when I heard the term walking the rounds was following the doctors around a hospital on their rounds, or even maybe like a bar crawl. Making the rounds at all the bars in a certain area. I remember doing that in college. But no, I'm talking about the Celtic practice of walking the rounds. So, what is walking the rounds? It's an ancient tradition of walking around a sacred place a particular number of times while the walker prays, meditates, practices mindfulness, or does something of the like. So, time's going way back. When the Catholics got wind of what the Celts were doing, walking the rounds, they copied it, as they did with many other things. It's even possible, some speculate, that walking the Stations of the Cross derived from the Celtic practice of walking the rounds. Who knows, but it's interesting. So, you probably want to know, what are some benefits of walking the rounds? Well, first, while you're walking, it gives you an opportunity to slow down from the fast-paced world, to kind of just deal with what you're doing at the time and not be thinking about what happened or what is going to happen. Once again, it's kind of like the same idea of mindfulness. This is a very interesting benefit too, that some people are claiming, that it gives your body a subtle hint to move out of linear thinking. I guess a better way of putting it, it gives you an opportunity to think out of the box. And that opportunity is provided by the fact that you're going in circulars or some sort of circular-like pattern. Just kind of wiring into your head, to not think linearly, because you're not going in a straight line. And most importantly, it gives you an opportunity to see things from a different perspective. And we could all use some different perspectives. Well, speaking of benefits of seeing another perspective, if you like the content in this video and would like to see more of it, please give a big old Celtic click to the subscribe button, and be sure to give one to the bell icon as well to be notified every time I upload a new video. So let's get back to the benefits. Another one is it gives you a safe space to let go. Get you out of your routine and let you forget your expectations for that short time that you are walking the rounds. It allows you to step into the unknown for a short time and consider the uncomfortable. There's a quote by Joseph Campbell: "We must be willing to get rid of the lives we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." So, it's a very important thing if you think about it. We really need to just stop and let life happen to us sometimes, as opposed to trying to force our will onto life. You miss a lot of things by doing that. So I'm also hoping that the practice of walking the rounds will provide some calming relief for anxiety and depression. Whether that will be the case or not, it's too soon for me to say either way. I think it will. When I'm looking and researching Celtic practices, some I'm just saying no, it doesn't seem like it's going to do anything and put it to the side. Other ones that I actually try to practice myself are ones that I say, okay, I think this could do something. I see the potential value in it, and I'm only showing you guys those practices. So, moving on, now that you know some of the benefits of walking the rounds, where do you do them and how do you do them? Well, the where is any place sacred or important to you. An example from the Celts is they like to walk the rounds at sacred springs, among other places. Those sacred springs now are called holy springs by the Catholics, but it's the same springs. Some ideas of places you could do your rounds. It's all up to you and what's sacred to you and important to you, but maybe by some water body, a lake or a pond, or in a pinch or puddle, I guess. At a special tree, at some sort of memorial, or any place that's sacred to you, that's important to you. It doesn't matter if it seems unimportant to somebody else or silly to somebody else. This is your practice, and you're doing it for you, not for anybody else. So all of us must have some sort of important or sacred place that they can do their rounds at. Interestingly, too, I believe that you can walk the rounds in your mind. Back in December, I spoke to Philip Cargam of the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, and he told me that many of these type of activities can be done mentally. Now, in this case, you would imagine your sacred place and envision imagine yourself walking the rounds like a good Celt, and be in the same frame of mind that you would be in if you walked the rounds physically. Now, this obviously would be easier if you've actually done the rounds in this particular location. You're going to mentally use the image of if you've done the rounds there before, because then it's imprinted in your brain. It's easy to pull up in your mind. So, it's something definitely to consider. Especially if your sacred place is in Hawaii or Ireland and you're thousands of miles away, Anyway, so how do you walk the rounds? Well, it's not just a matter of walking around something that's sacred or important. There's a lot more to it than that. This is not an exercise in some sort of superstition or, magic or anything like that. So when you walk the rounds, you have to walk in a sunwise direction. So that would be walking clockwise in a northern hemisphere and walking counterclockwise in a southern hemisphere. When you walk the rounds, it needs to be done in a very deliberate manner. You need to do it with mindfulness, with awareness, and with reverence to what you're doing and to the sacred place that you are doing the rounds at. Whatever you want to say when you're doing your rounds, you could say them out loud. You could say them in your head, or you don't even have to say anything. You could do it in silent meditation on whatever it is you choose. For example, you can recite a prayer. You can walk meditatively, focusing on something sacred to you. You can contemplate the way you're feeling in this moment. Even things environmental, the wind on your face, the sounds and noises of birds or whatever other animals. You get the idea. So the big thing, I think, is to derive any benefits from walking the rounds. You need to do it regularly. It has to be part of your regular practice. Yeah, I know it takes time and whatever else, but this is probably a case where, like I said, mentally walking the rounds might come in, because you could do it anytime, any place. It's all being done in your head. Whereas physically walking the rounds, well, don't get me wrong, I think that's important and you should do it. You have to go to a certain place and set up and do it and come home, and sometimes you don't have the time for that. So if you're gonna walk the rounds 3 times a week, say, maybe you make sure you do one and physically one day a week, do one mentally, and then the third time, it's dealer's choice, however it fits into your schedule. So I want to give you some advice about walking the rounds that comes from an expert in this area. The expert I'm talking about is named Dara Malloy. He's a Celtic priest, monk, and druid, and he has a YouTube video giving advice about walking the rounds at a sacred well on the island of Inishmore in the Aran Islands in Ireland. There's a link up to his this video in the corner. But I'm going to give you a quick recap of his points now, because I think what he talks about is great. So his advice to people who come to walk the rounds at this particular holy well but not sure what to do, he tells them, he feels 7 rounds is a good number of rounds to walk. He says it's steeped in in Celtic tradition, and also could represent the 7 days of the week, 7 planets, which it was back way back. They only knew about 7 planets. He says while you're walking the rounds, you can recite prayers of your religion of your choice. You can silently meditate, maybe contemplate 7 ways of recognizing the divine, 1 for each round. Similarly, use the 7 chakras as you're walking around, 1 for each round. You pretty much do what's important and makes sense to you while walking the rounds. Dara also recommends having 7 small stones, and you can replace it with beads or whatever little items you have. He suggests having these 7 stones in your hand when you start your rounds. So every time you get back to the beginning, you can drop one of your stones, or put it in your pocket, as I probably do. Whatever works. But when there are no stones left in your hand, you're done with your rounds. You shouldn't be worrying about counting and tracking rounds while you're actually doing them. It defeats the purpose of walking the rounds. So using stones or beads or acorns or whatever you happen to have around is a quick and easy way of making sure you do the correct number of rounds and not less or more. So I have a little bit of a spoiler alert for you. Next week, I will be interviewing Dara Malloy. The interview will be posted on my YouTube channel here, probably around the same time as now next week. Please be sure to check it out. I'm sure it's going to be a great interview. Dara has a lot to say, and it's all good. So lastly, I am going to give you an example of how I walk the rounds, which I do different ways every time. This is just one way. And I am going to take you outside to a tree in my backyard. And I think this tree is special because when I moved into my house 22 years ago, I was told by both my dad and by someone a tree company we had come to trim the trees over our house, that this tree was basically dead and we should take it down. Now, we just never got around to doing that, and what didn't concern me, because if it would have come down, it wouldn't hit my house or anybody else's house. It would just make a little thud. And it's true that, every so often there's dead branches coming off and whatever else, and they'll come down in a windstorm. But this tree has survived. It is still alive. It has survived storms and wind. It has survived Superstorm Sandy. The tree just keeps on chugging along. Has beautiful flowers in the spring when it's blooming. And I think it's a pretty special tree. So that's where I'm going to walk the rounds for you. Unfortunately, it's a pretty small area, so I can't make very big laps or anything, but, we'll see. And I'm also going to be fighting what I think is mud outside right now, and my bad back and hobbling with a cane. But, we'll give it a shot and see what I can do. I'd love to show you, one of the ways I practice walking the rounds at home. But before I do, if you like this video, please let me know by giving a Celtic click to the thumbs up button. It'll be really helpful. Okay friends, so now I'm outside at the tree I was just mentioning. Ground is a little muddy and a little uneven. Got my cane and I will do my best. So, the first thing I would typically do when I'm about to walk the rounds is to get myself in the frame of mind first. So, I'll probably take about 10 regular breaths, feeling the air come in through my nostrils and feeling the breath go completely out. And then I'll follow that by just absorbing the environment for 30 seconds, just smelling the smells, hearing the noises and the sounds, the birds or whatever else, and just getting a little in tune with that. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, now I'm gonna try to absorb into the environment a little bit. Look at my tree. Okay, well, now I'm going to begin. I have in my hand 7 glass beads. You think? Yeah. So, I'm going to put 6 of them in my left hand, hold 1 in the right hand, and still try to hold my cane. And what I've decided to do today is to, for each of my 7 walks, for each of my 7 rounds, I'm going to think about my 7 family members. It happens to work out perfectly. My wife and 3 kids, my parents, and Mr. Sheldon, who you can see in the background probably. So each round will be dedicated to a different member of my family. And I'm just gonna think and contemplate them and nothing else. Not be concerned with whatever else is going on around. Not worrying about my back hurting, not worrying about what I did before and what I have to do after this, just being in the moment. So, as I finish each round, I'm going to take the bead I had and put it in my pocket and transfer another bead from my left hand to my right hand. So, when my hand is empty, my left hand is empty, I will know I'm done. I don't have to worry about counting anything. So, here I go. Just going to recenter myself a little bit first. This isn't really going to be, I guess, a true walking of the round since I'm talking to you and explaining things a bit as I go, but you'll get the idea. I just completed my first round contemplating my wife. I'm going to put this bead in my pocket and take another bead from my hand. Unfortunately, I wish I had a bigger place to do this for you right now, but I don't, but you can still get the idea and the gist of it. And unfortunately, I've gotten snagged on a few branches, but what can you do? So, for my second round, I'm going to be focusing on my oldest daughter who's in college. second round to my oldest daughter. Take another bead. This round is going to be for my son. Okay, that round is complete. Once again, I wish I had a bigger place to do this for you. Preferably, unfortunately the weather's been bad lately, otherwise I would have liked to have gone to a local park and done this and let people make fun of me wondering what I'm doing, but it wasn't in the cards for today. And I would point out too that you should be very cognizant of where you're walking. I don't just mean focusing on your rounds, but literally watch where you're walking. Now here it's very there's tree roots and whatnot, and it's on level ground, and it's an easy accident to happen. You don't want to be walking the rounds with your eyes closed because you're so into your meditation. You still have to have that situational awareness a little bit. So the next one is from my youngest daughter. And I should also mention that I'm not going to do it today, but a few times now when I've used this tree and back, I've done actually 14 rounds, 2 for each of the 7 things I'm going to contemplate on, just because it is such a short walk, and you want to get bang for your round, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. But that's just something I decided to do. Okay. The next beat up. Might as well do it right here because he's here. Hey, Shelly, wanna walk you around with me? Come on, for Sheldon. Sheldon. That bead in my pocket. Say hello to him because he's here. Yeah, I walked around in your honor. Okay, I got 2 beads left. This is for my mother. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Okay, that bead into the pocket. And this is, okay, this is my last bead, and this is from my dad. I've completed my walking of the rounds. So I'm gonna bid my friend here goodbye and thank you. Thanks for letting me walk around you. Keep strong, tree. So, to recap, I just walked 7 Celtic rounds of this lovely tree, and each of the 7 rounds, I focused on a different family member. And as I said, I wish I had a bigger area so I could walk longer. And if you decide your sacred place is, a small like this, just do multiple rounds. Instead of doing 7, do 14 or 21. Whatever works for you. For some reason, I kind of feel like you should stay, in multiples of 7, 14, 21, but you're free to do whatever you want. So, I also mentioned that, these walking of the rounds can be done mentally as well. If you would like to see me guide you through a walking of the rounds mentally, I'd be happy to do that. Please let me know your interest in the comments. And right now, my pack is bad, so we're gonna head back inside. See you soon. Okay, so now we're back inside, and I'm going to wrap up this video shortly. I want to invite you to try some Celtic round walking yourself. If you do, please let me know how it goes for you in the comments. I'd love to hear your results. But remember, try to walk the rounds regularly if you can. I suspect that it will have a positive impact on anxiety and depression by leveling up your mind. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to check back next week for my interview with Dara Malloy. Take care. See ya.